Welcome back to The Explainer. So today we're zeroing in exclusively on Chapter 6 of that massive 10-part advanced tutorial, Machine Learning for IT Professionals. You know, the one by Virtualization Options, LLC, the Colorado-based research and advisory group. Now, since this is Chapter 6, we're completely skipping the basics today. Instead, we're lifting the hood to see how these systems actually operate. Look, I know if you work in IT, hearing machine learning might make you think some black box AI is coming to just automate your entire job. But actually, scratch that. It's the exact opposite. This is a system that literally cannot survive in the real world without your deep infrastructure expertise. Okay, here's our Chapter 6 roadmap. Think of it like walking through an IT factory pipeline. We've got the ML shift in IT, core algorithms, pre-processing messy data, feature engineering for scale, the model training engine, and finally, real-world IT operations. Let's jump in. Section 1. The ML shift in IT. Before we start building models, we really need to acknowledge something. Your IT systems are probably already running ML under the hood. Seriously, spam filters, intrusion detection, cloud auto-scaling, it's everywhere. But look at the stark contrast between the old way and a new way. In traditional rules-based IT, we write the explicit logic, right? If X happens, do Y. It's safe, it's predictable, but it doesn't scale to infinite complexity. Now, data-driven ML completely flips that script. Instead of us painstakingly writing every single rule, the system learns the patterns directly from the data itself. It's finding anomalies and making decisions at a scale that human logic just can't keep up with. So you're probably wondering, where does that leave me? Well, right here. Your new role is the deployment, infrastructure, and reliability layer. A data scientist can build the absolute smartest machine learning algorithm on their local laptop. But honestly, without your operational governance, your network architecture, and your reliability standards, those models are completely useless in production. You are the vital bridge between theory and reality. Moving right along to Section 2, Core Machine Learning Algorithms. Let's demystify these algorithms, because they're essentially the brains of intelligent operations. First up, supervised learning. Think of this like a classic teacher-student dynamic. You're the teacher, and you hand the algorithm a giant stack of labeled data, basically an answer key. The model studies it, learns the patterns, and figures out how to predict future outcomes. In our world, this exact dynamic is what powers your fraud detection systems and classifies millions of lines of system logs automatically. But what if you don't have an answer key? Well, that brings us to unsupervised learning. This is where the model just dives into raw, unlabeled data to dig up hidden patterns all on its own. It's absolutely perfect for spotting weird, unexpected anomalies in your network traffic. And then there's reinforcement learning. This one learns through trial and error using reward and penalty loops. It's honestly cutting-edge stuff. This is what's behind self-healing IT systems and adaptive resource allocation in the cloud. So here's your quick cheat sheet of the key models you really need to know. Decision trees, random forests, support vector machines, and neural networks. Now, the tutorial makes a great point here. You don't need a math PhD to manage these, but you absolutely do need to understand their infrastructure footprint. Every single one of these models comes with distinct trade-offs when it comes to the raw compute power they demand and how easily we humans can actually interpret their decisions. All right, on to Section 3, pre-processing messy data. Here's where we hit the absolute golden rule of IT, and let me tell you, it applies tenfold to machine learning. Garbage in, garbage out. We can break this down into 3 critical steps. First, treat data quality as infrastructure. I'm serious. Missing values or jumbled formats will corrupt a model the exact same way a bad config file crashes a server. Second, normalization and encoding. We literally have to scale the numbers and translate categories just so the model can digest them. And third, the all-important train, validation, and test splits. Let's talk about that third step for a second. A super common approach is a 70-15-15 split. That's 70% for training, 15% for validation, and 15% strictly for testing. But here is the cardinal rule. You never, ever let the test data touch the training data. If your model gets even a sneak peek at the test data, you get what's called data leakage. It is the silent killer of model accuracy. It's basically like accidentally giving a standard user domain admin rights. Sure, it might look like everything's totally fine during testing, but the second you go to production, absolute chaos. Okay, Section 4, feature engineering for scale. So once our data is clean and isolated, we enter the optimization phase to turn that raw data into a highly tuned signal. The main thing to remember here is that throwing everything at the wall just to see what sticks Yeah, that's terrible for scale. That's why we have feature selection, literally removing irrelevant variables, because fewer features often mean faster, much more accurate models. Then there's feature creation, where we derive brand new metrics that tell a better story, like taking raw log timestamps and turning them into requests per second. Finally, we use dimensionality reduction techniques, things like PCA or tsne. These compress insanely complex, high-dimensional data, like raw network packets, into something super lean while preserving the core variance. This is make or break for maintaining performance at massive scale. Moving on to Section 5, the Model Training Engine. Let's open the door to the engine room and see what's actually happening under the hood. Training a model is not magic. It's just a highly cyclical, mechanical loop. The model makes a prediction, we measure exactly how wrong that prediction was, then the model adjusts its internal math to be slightly less wrong the next time, and repeat, millions and millions of times. This entire loop, it relies 100% on the steady, rock-solid compute resources that you provide. Now, to manage this engine properly, you've got to understand this vital distinction. Parameters are the internal variables that the model learns organically, by itself, during that training loop we just talked about. Hyperparameters, on the other hand, are manually configured by you, the IT admin. We're talking about things like the learning rate or how deep a decision tree is actually allowed to grow. You set the boundaries, and the model figures out the rest. And balancing those boundaries is, well, it's really tough. If you get it wrong, you end up with overfitting or underfitting. Overfit models are basically just cheating. They've perfectly memorized the training data. It's kind of like a student who memorized a practice test but completely fails the actual exam because they didn't learn the underlying concepts, right? That means they will absolutely fail in production the second they see new, real-world data. And that is exactly why we use regularization techniques, to keep the model grounded and ensure it can actually generalize to the unknown. Finally, Section 6, Real-World IT Operations. This is the climax of Chapter 6. This is where we translate all of that dense data science theory into hard, measurable production value for your environments. Look at this number, 72. By training predictive maintenance models on your server telemetry, we're talking CPU spikes, disk I/O, temperature fluctuations. You can predict physical hardware failures up to 72 hours before they actually happen. Just imagine the uptime you can achieve when you're swapping out a drive 3 whole days before it even crashes. And what about 60%? The tutorial highlights that if you deploy natural language processing models to parse through millions of lines of system logs, they can identify root causes so fast that it reduces your mean time to resolution by up to 60%. That is a massive, game-changing operational victory. But of course, all this power comes with a pretty serious warning. I want to leave you with this mic drop quote straight from the Virtualization Options LLC tutorial. A model deployed without monitoring is a model you've already lost control of. It brings us right back to why your role is so incredibly critical. So I've got to ask you, are your organization's machine learning models currently running wild in a black box somewhere? Or are you ready to step up, take the reins, and build the infrastructure to actually govern them? Something to chew on as we wrap up this explainer. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today, and I'll catch you on the next one.